So, we had the trailer for X-Men 97 came out on Thursday. I did an emergency stream and we broke it down. There's been even more information that has come out since when it comes to X-Men 97. So I guess the first question is, what's the take on X-Men 97? How do you guys feel? Because, there were a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. We actually have a trailer. We actually have marketing. We've got a lot of stuff out there. What's the take on X-Men 97? Are you more excited, less excited? Are you, where are you at? Rogue is lacking them cheeks. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We will certainly talk about that because I think that's a bad look. And I don't think that's good. And then let's see here. Yeah, okay, so I was waiting for the woke word to go into the chat. I knew it was coming. It was only a matter of time. And so we have, of course, the first complaints about wokeness attached to an X-Men project. And I don't know. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull a Chris Stuckman here. You know what? I don't want to talk about this. We're not going to actually talk about any of this, and let's instead talk about the object definition of the word woke and how everybody gets it wrong and totally derail into a completely different subject matter and not actually face the elephant in the room and not actually talk about the thing that everybody wants to talk about. Let's pull a goddamn Stuckman! So here's the thing. It is a uniquely silly and funny situation when it comes to wokeness and X-Men 97. Can I just ask a question to the chat? Would you agree or disagree with the following statement? Stan Lee was pretty woke. Agree or disagree? Agree or disagree? Yeah, so here's the problem. If there was ever going to be a Marvel project that was going to be woke, it would be the X-Men. And Stan himself was super woke. And I guess when I say that word, I don't even necessarily think of it in a bad derogatory term. I think some people think woke just means the most aggressive version of identity politics that they can imagine. But I think there's a less intense version of that where maybe, underrepresented people or perspectives are being brought to the forefront, right? I guess to me, woke encapsulates a huge range of possibilities, some pretty extreme, some pretty benign, right? So your mileage is definitely going to vary on this. But from my perspective, Stan Lee was a pretty woke person. He certainly wanted representation to be a big deal. I've heard many interviews, in fact, in the past couple of months, because in January, we did a lot of research on Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. It's without a doubt a huge important factor for Stan Lee was representation. You can see it all over the place. One of the things that he did is, and this is a great example of this, is the Howling Commando. And we look back at Howling Commandos now and we're like, okay, so the Irish guy, the Italian guy, that I don't understand. That's not really woke. And then, you've got the black guy, you've got all these different things. But back then it was back then it was that. So he thought it would be very important to have all of these different kinds of folks represented in the OG Howling Commandos book, which he made in a bet with his publisher to prove that he could make any kind of book popular within the Marvel formula. Right. And so to me, I look at Stan and I look at a lot of the things that he wanted to do. And I think, he was again, your mileage will vary on how you feel about this, a woke guy. He really was. And the X-Men in particular, it was not created as an allegory for civil rights. I think that's important because, we just want to be accurate. And I think a lot of people, when we get into these kind of hot button topics, they really want to just parrot talking points or they want to, fight for their side. I just want to be truthful and clear. It was not created as an allegory for civil rights. However, they quickly realized that it was a pretty good allegory for civil rights. And so they did lean into it, and representation, and a lot of things that, again, you would call woke, broadly speaking, that was really important to the X-Men. I mean, at the end of the day, the X-Men are a group of individuals that save a world that hates them. That's the whole thing. So the Sentinel program was created by bigots. That's not up for interpretation. That's the fiction, right? So that's what it is. People bigoted to mutants, right? And again, it's like it's a good allegory. So I find this whole conversation around X-Men and all of that being really weird. And you know, Bo DeMeo, who, you know, I don't know a ton about Bo, but I know that he loves the X-Men. And I know that Bo is a gay black man. And I know that Bo, you know, as an X-Men fan and as a gay black man, I can imagine there's probably some stuff that he's experienced in his life that endure him to the X-Men characters, the X-Men franchise. And that perspective is something that he probably wanted to bring to the show. Okay. So it's fascinating because we knew this was coming, and we knew that the X-Men were, like, to me, I just think it's the funniest thing in the world for people to be like, oh, X-Men gone woke. Like, it is really funny because they've always been. However, and I'll sort of bring in this side of it, which again is just, it's just like my perspective on it, right? Your mileage may vary on this, but I would argue that X-Men, just like Star Wars, was able to create a fiction and a world and characters that the audience was able to escape with, okay? Meaning the politics of even the X-Men, I wouldn't consider them to be super heavy-handed, okay? And so I do think there's a version of X-Men, and of X-Men 97, where, you know, Morph is non-binary now, right? Which, I mean, to me, it seems... Yeah, I mean, of course, right? At the very least, gender fluid because of the ability to morph into other physical beings. But if, like, the episodes are, like, 20 minutes of, like, deep talk with Morph about how that identity has put him at odds with certain red hat wearing people, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's obviously a line and there's obviously a place where the intent and the function of the characters can sort of break through the fourth wall and basically just tell half the country that they're bigots, right? So, of course, there's the potential for the X-Men show to be, I don't know, let's call it maybe aggressively woke, or what I would call that just kind of shitty storytelling and just a shitty way to handle the X-Men. You know what I mean? So fascinating. And here's the truth. When it comes to how that will be handled in the X-Men show, we don't know. Like, that's it. We don't fucking know, dude. Like, we gotta wait and see. We don't know how the episodes are gonna be. And I'm gonna tell you, like, if it's 20 minutes of Morph talking about his feelings and saying that he doesn't like Trump, that's gonna fucking annoy me. Not because I feel personally attacked, but because I feel like that's not what the X-Men should be. But I also feel like it's absurd to see this character is non-binary and then make the sort of broad strokes, clickbait, low-hanging fruit, anti-woke kind of sentiment that X-Men has gone woke. That is also silly and stupid. And having said all of it, the real thing that we should all be united on is the lack of ass. I'm talking about Rogue. Yes. Those cheeks, regardless of how you feel about anything I've said up to this point, those cheeks are important. That's America's ass. And I cannot believe that they have removed the assets of Rogue. And I feel like there has to be a way to not try to get wrapped up in narrative and try to, you know, fight for my side and, you know, preach to my audience and all that sort of stuff. Like, let's just be real. And if we could all hold hands together and be truly united as nerds and say to the studio, we demand the dump truck ass, the world would be a better place. So I'll get off my soapbox now. I'm excited for X-Men 97. Don't like the lack of ass, but I'm going to give the show a fair chance. Is that too crazy? Is that too crazy? That's the take. Welcome to the Den of Nerds.